I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. A decision by the Empire State Building to not honor Cardinal Dolan has many seeing red. Plus, it's Mardi Gras all over again for one young girl.
I thought it was important for people to remember that the power of our words, that we have the power to hurt and we have the power to heal.
And a Friday night inside is anything but dull for a group of young people in Queens.
It's sort of like a magnified version of what we should be doing every day if we're serving Christ.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Request denied. That is the response Anthony Malkin, owner of the Empire State Building, gave to Staten Island Congressman Michael Grimm after Grimm asked that newly elevated Timothy Cardinal Dolan be honored by illuminating the famed skyline structure in red. Now, the apparent snub, awkwardly misplaced during a week where Cardinal Dolan has risen to religious celebrity following his appointment to the College of Cardinals by Pope Benedict XVI, has raised the ire of politicians, religious leaders, and residents alike. Many question why the iconic structure has celebrated everything from cartoons, charitable organizations, and even communism, yet refuses to acknowledge one of the newest princes of the church. Now, the decision that is not to honor Cardinal Dolan is in stark contrast to His Eminence's humble thanksgiving for the new position. Leading a prayer service and speaking Saturday at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan, Cardinal Dolan shared his appointment and celebration with the city, calling New Yorkers the real princes. He also referenced the latest skyscraper controversy.
It was, I commented, as if the Holy Father had placed the red hat upon the Statue of Liberty, the 9/11 Memorial, home plate at Yankee Stadium, the goalpost of the Giants, or at the at One World Trade Center.
And One World Trade Center was lit in red for Cardinal Dolan beginning last Friday. It will continue that way through this Friday. Now, for more on the controversy surrounding the Empire State Building's decision to not honor the Cardinal, I spoke earlier today with Jeff Field. He's Communications Director for the Catholic League. Jeff, I want to read our viewers an excerpt from your blog today. The problem with Cardinal Dolan is that he is not a mass murderer. If he were, he may have been honored the way Mao Zedong, who murdered 77 million innocent Chinese men, women, and children, were in 2009. Now, on the 60th anniversary of the Communist Revolution, owners of the Empire State made sure that tower shone red and yellow in his honor. Now, those are very strong words. Do you think they echo the majority?
I think so. I think that this is it would be an honor to to light up the building red for Cardinal Dolan. It's not just for Catholics, but for civic pride. I mean, we have the Archbishop of New York was elevated to the cardinalate by the Pope, and I think it would be an honor for not just Catholics of New York, but for all New Yorkers. And for the Empire State Building to deny him that honor, it's just par for the course, really, with what the Empire State Building has done over the past couple of years.
So you were not surprised that Cardinal Dolan did not make the cut, or were you?
Oh, not surprised, because we actually, in 2010, we asked them to light blue and white for Mother Teresa, and they denied us our application, and they said that it's because they don't honor religious figures. They actually amended their application after we had requested Mother Teresa to not honor religious figures. Well, when we first submitted our application, there was nothing in the application saying they don't honor religious figures. After we did, they denied us, saying that they don't honor religious figures, such as Mother Teresa. So it doesn't really surprise us that Cardinal Dolan wasn't honored with the lighting of the Empire State Building. But just to go to show how stupid they are over at the Empire State Building, next month, over the 16th, 17th, and 18th of March, they're going to honor it for St. Patrick, who is clearly a religious figure.
And do you think that those types of decisions just make them seem so arbitrary on the part of the Empire State Building? Like there's no real rhyme or reason to how they choose for whom they light the building?
Oh, sure. I mean, just look at different people that they have honored over the years. I mean, the example of Mao Zedong is just, it's right there in your face that, a communist leader who killed tens of millions of people would be honored. But also, they've honored the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They've honored Mariah Carey. They've honored a number of different. I think the Simpsons were honored. I mean, another number of different silly type of things. But I mean, when Cardinal Dolan, who is the Archbishop of New York City, or the Archdiocese of New York, when he is denied this honor, it just goes to show that there is no rhyme or reason. Like I said before, it wouldn't be just an honor for Catholics of New York to have their leader honored by the Empire State Building. It's part of civic pride, and New Yorkers would have. There would have been no problem from New Yorkers.
Jeff, meantime, the rising One World Trade Center began glowing red late Friday. They're going to remain that way for a week, and they say at no cost to taxpayers. What message is this sending?
There is I think there's a pretty large contingent that does not appreciate or does not get along with Anthony Malkin, the leader, the head of the Empire State Building. So at no cost to the taxpayers to honor Cardinal Dolan, it just goes to show that even the Port Authority and these types of organizations, they realize the importance of having such a big, a larger than life figure here in New York. With being Archbishop or now Cardinal Dolan, and Jeff, that's what I think that the city recognizes that.
And Jeff, having said that, religious leaders, politicians, city dwellers, how important is it that the outrage we're seeing spans the gamut of the New York population? It's not really just a Catholic Church issue.
Right. I think that it is important that it's running. It's not just Catholics that are upset by this. It's a number of different organizations. Most people would have no problem with honoring Archbishop Dolan, Cardinal Dolan. Just as we as Catholics have no problem with the Empire State Building lighting the tower for Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King. I mean, he was a reverend and he was a religious figure. So for them to honor him, he's a historical figure. So there's nothing wrong with honoring religious figures, and Catholics don't mind. Catholics don't have an opposition to it, and neither do a majority of New Yorkers. It's the leadership of the Empire State Building that has decided that they're not going to light it for religious figures, and it's really to their. It just goes to show what they're really all about.
And some say that the Catholic Church is suffering from such an image problem lately that a lot of people see in Dolan someone who can put a positive face and voice on the Catholic message. What are we seeing that Malcolm is missing, the owner of the Empire State Building? Well,
I mean, just show where they're coming from. Like I said, in 2010. They denied the honor for Mother Teresa, and if you can find somebody to not honor Mother Teresa, I mean, Mother Teresa was loved across the board. I mean, not just Catholics, but the Indian population, the Hindu population, the Jews, Muslims, atheists respected what Mother Teresa did. So, if you're going to deny the honor for Mother Teresa, nothing should really surprise us, and it just goes to show that maybe there's a detachment from reality that Anthony Malkin has, and I think that's really what it is. I mean, to deny Mother Teresa and then to not recognize the importance that Cardinal Dolan has to New York, and that's, like I said, not just Catholic New Yorkers, but New Yorkers in general. I think it just shows that he's a little disconnected with reality.
All right, Jeff, I'm afraid that is the final word. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Well, we will have much more ahead. A movie was made about him, and there's a campaign to have him declared a saint. We'll have that story and the rest of the day's headlines next. First, more on Cardinal Dolan. We caught up with people outside St. Patrick's Cathedral and asked whether they thought the Empire State Building should have honored him.
All of New York City should have gone red on his behalf.
Having religion connected with any kind of public building, sometimes, especially in the city of New York, is something that we got to be very careful about.
It would have been nice, but that's okay, because, there's all kinds of religion in New York, and people know it's fine. He gets enough media coverage, it's okay.
I'll leave that to the politicians to decide.
It'd be a good idea.
I just think it's one of those complicated things, and that's why we have elected officials to help us out with those complicated things.
Your Holiness here, he needs to be recognized. If the Yankees and the Giants can be recognized, he should be.
I really don't have an opinion on that. I mean, it's there's lots of things that we could do for the Cardinal. It doesn't have to be the Empire State Building.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faublas. Coming up later, it may have been a Friday night inside, but it was well worth it for a group of young people in Queens. First, though, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Well, a dire warning with a hint of sarcasm from Chicago's Archbishop. Writing in his regular column, Cardinal Francis George is encouraging people to by his Archdiocese directory, noting that the page with hospital listings may be blank in 2 years if the controversial Health and Human Services mandate is not changed. Cardinal George writes that the mandate, which requires most religious organizations to cover contraception, sterilization, and some abortion-inducing drugs in their health plans, gives Catholics institutions one of 4 choices. The Cardinal says such institutions may be forced to secularize themselves, pay exorbitant fines in order to not offer health insurance, sell the institution, or to shut down. Now, Cardinal George also suggests that Catholics who disagree with the church should refamiliarize themselves with its teachings. Meanwhile, Republican presidential candidate Rick Santorum says he does not believe in an absolute separation of church and state. In an interview yesterday on ABC's This Week, Santorum was asked about remarks he made last year when he said late President John F. Kennedy's 1960 speech to Baptist ministers made him want to, quote, throw up.
Because the first substantive line in the speech says, I believe in America where the separation of church and state is absolute. I don't believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute. The idea that the church can have no influence or no involvement in the operation of the state is absolutely antithetical to the objectives and vision of our country. This is the First Amendment. The First Amendment says the free exercise of religion. That means bringing everybody, people of faith and no faith, into the public square. Kennedy, for the first time, articulated a vision saying, no, faith is not allowed in the public square. I will keep it separate. Go on and read the speech. I will have nothing to do with faith. I won't consult with people of faith. It was an absolutist doctrine that was foreign at the time of 1960. And I went down to Houston, Texas, 50 years almost to the day, and gave a speech and talked about how important it is for everybody to feel welcome in the public square. People of faith, people of no faith, and be able to bring their ideas, to bring their passions into the public square and have it out.
Well, Santorum is one of 2 Catholics vying for the GOP presidential nod. Voters in Michigan and Arizona will decide between 4 Republican candidates tomorrow. Then it's Super Tuesday on March 6, when 10 more states have their say. And a group of Republican congressmen is appealing a ruling on the Federal Defense of Marriage Act. The measure, known as DOMA, declares marriage on the federal level as between a man and a woman. It also frees states where same-sex marriage is not allowed from being forced to recognize such marriages performed in states where it is legal. Now, the Republican congressman led by House Speaker John Boehner filed an appeal of a ruling that the measure violated equal protection rights for same-sex couples. Meanwhile, a judge has denied a request to have a sex abuse case against a former official in the Philadelphia Archdiocese be dismissed. The Archdiocese's former secretary of clergy is accused of giving new assignments to priests known to have abused. Lawyers argue that new evidence shows late Cardinal Anthony Bevilacqua ordered a list of priests accused of abuse be shredded. The lawyers say the evidence shows that Bevilacqua and not their client was making decisions on abusive priests. Bevilacqua, a Brooklyn native, died on January 31st. A judge had previously ruled that testimony the cardinal gave could be used in the case, despite the fact that Bevilacqua was suffering from cancer and dementia at the time he gave it. And a cardinal in Venezuela is praying for his country's ailing president. According to Catholic news agency Cardinal George Eroso Savino prayed in a special way for the physical health of Hugo Chavez. The statement reportedly came in the cardinal's Ash Wednesday homily. Chavez will travel to Cuba to have a potentially cancerous tumor removed. Meanwhile, Pope Benedict offered some advice on how to observe the season of Lent. Rome Reports has the details.
A few hours before beginning his spiritual retreat, Benedict XVI went to the window of the Vatican's Apostolic Palace to pray the Angelus with thousands of pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square. The Pope spoke about the season of Lent and offered some ideas on how to live these 40 days.
Al comenzar este santo tiempo, animo a todos a que, guiados por la fuerza de Dios, intensifiquen la oración, la penitencia y la práctica de la caridad, para así llegar victoriosos y purificados a las celebraciones pascuales.
Benedict XVI warned of the dangers in leading a life without considerations toward God. He said it's a temptation that has always been present in human history. He also asked for prayers during his days of spiritual exercises.
Affido inoltre alla vostra preghiera la settimana di esercizi spirituali che questa sera inizierò con I miei collaboratori della Curia Romana.
The Pope's spiritual retreat will last until Saturday, March 3rd. It will take place during this first week of Lent in the Vatican's chapel of Redemptoris Mater. This year it's being led by the African Cardinal Laurent Masengwa Passigna from the Congo.
And the Archdiocese of Washington is encouraging people to return to confession.
And I invite Catholics to experience a renewal of spirit through the gift of confession on Wednesday evenings during Lent.
And that's Washington Archbishop Cardinal Dolan. The video is part of a new campaign called The Light is On for You. All parishes in the Archdiocese of Washington and the Diocese of Arlington, Virginia will be opened on Wednesday nights during Lent from 6:30 to 8 o'clock for confession and quiet prayer. There is much more information at the website thelightison.org. Meanwhile, a campaign from the Archdiocese of Omaha is aimed at getting a well-known priest declared a saint. According to reports, the Archdiocese will open the cause of beatification for Father Edward Flanagan, the founder of Boys Town. Flanagan founded Boys Town as an orphanage for boys. It eventually expanded to include a school and dormitories. Flanagan's ministry was immortalized in the 1938 movie Boys Town. Spencer Tracy won the Best Actor Oscar for his portrayal of Flanagan. And a renowned documentary on the Catholic faith will be getting a wider viewership thanks to the generosity of the filmmakers. According to Catholic news agency Word on Fire Ministries is donating 450 sets of the 10-part Catholicism documentary series to U.S. military priests, chaplains, and lay leaders. Father Robert Barron hosts the series. In it, he travels the world to visit sacred sites and explains the teachings of the Church. Stay tuned. There is more currents ahead. When we return, what should have been a joyous celebration for a young girl turned into something quite different until family, friends, and strangers stepped in. But first, it's back to St. Patrick's Cathedral and more on Cardinal Timothy Dolan as people gave us one word they would use to describe New York's Archbishop.
Genuine would be the word I would describe him.
Wonderful. Happy. Charismatic.
The Cardinal is very spiritual and very human.
Down to earth.
Enthusiastic.
Genuine.
Charismatic.
Gregarious.
Outgoing.
Jovial.
Unbelievable.
Pastoral.
Magnificent.
Charismatic.
Absolutely cool.
Welcome back. Well, for some, it may be just an excuse to party, but Mardi Gras actually has religious roots. Its name means Fat Tuesday, and it's celebrated every year on the day before Ash Wednesday. It's one final chance for people to stuff themselves before a day of fasting to begin the season of Lent. And there's arguably no greater celebration of Mardi Gras than the celebrations that take place in New Orleans. And while many who converge on the city to take part in the festivities have a great time, for one young girl, the atmosphere this year was less than celebratory until some friends and strangers stepped in. Reporter Maya Rodriguez has more.
Within the confines of the Crew of Muses den,
we love making shoes.
Amidst the floats and king cake snowballs, it felt like carnival season never ended.
We have to have some of our light up beads.
The Muses, joined by others who make appearances in their parade, all coming together for one special young girl, Emily Mueller.
I think they look pretty cool. I think it's awesome.
Emily is a high-functioning autistic 11-year-old. She loves everything about Muses and went to see the parade with her mom last week. What should have been a happy experience, though, was anything but.
Right before the parade came a large group of young adults, college-age kids came and stood in front of us.
One of them made fun of Emily's autism and called her a disparaging name. The experience left Emily in tears, and she left the parade.
She should have been able to sit there and enjoy.
We hope that just one bad experience isn't going to ruin Mardi Gras for her.
Her mom, Amy, decided to post a moving blog entry about what happened. And before she knew it, hundreds of people responded, including the Crew of Muses, who arranged to give Emily an experience she would never forget.
I thought it was important for people to remember that the power of our words, that we have the power to hurt and we have the power to heal. And if one person makes a stupid mistake and hurts, then the rest of us need to show that we have the power to heal too.
Emily Gras! So heal they did. Emily was floored by the outpouring.
Totally overwhelming, like really nice that they're like giving me this stuff and they came just for me. Really nice.
We would love you to be the queen of our pirate parade this year.
And her mom grateful to a community that showed her daughter the goodness in people.
This is something that my little girl is going to remember for the rest of her life, and it's something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life too.
And there is more currents ahead. When we return, we'll take you to another gathering with its share of celebration, but much closer to home. First, it's back to St. Pat's. For more on Cardinal Dolan, we ask people why the city is so crazy for its Archbishop.
He's become one of us very rapidly. He loves New York.
Because he does have such a rambunctious personality and is such a happy man, and that comes through in everything that he does.
He definitely speaks from the heart, and he speaks mostly about Catholic issues, which are very important to people.
It's his personality. He's very connected. He's very connected with the common people.
He had a great impact in the community, and he's always trying to serve those who are in need.
He's really a truly different cardinal, and I think New York's a different city, and he kind of embodies the spirit of us being who we are, and we like that about him.
I think it's just the whole humanness of him, and that's just how he reminds me of Jesus Christ himself. The humanness of him is so real.
And finally tonight, staying in on a Friday night is probably not most people's idea of a good time, especially young people. It's the night everyone wants to head out and, as the saying goes, paint the town red. Well, this past Friday, a group of young people decided that church was the place to be. The occasion, a Lent lock-in at St. Joseph's Church in Jamaica, Queens.
So we're in and we're away from the world. There's a reason why we're inside and away from the world. I'm going to really call you to really reflect and to really be away from the world.
Today we're here for a Lenten lock-in. We're here to really celebrate our faith and what it means to be in the desert in Lent, as well as to have fun together and fellowship together as young adults and teenagers in the church.
Christ died for us. He died for us. He died to save us from our sins. We go through Lent to remember what he went through. We go through Lent to remember his ministry. And we, too, should really make sacrifices.
It's sort of like a magnified version of what we should be doing every day if we're serving Christ. We define it as a lock-in. It's supposed to be like a little microcosm of a bigger element. But it's just sort of to bring their attention in to what it is that should be important in their daily walk every day, and just sort of kind of make it more of a focus on how to do it and that sort of thing.
I feel that it's a team of people who's worshiping God, and that's actually the number one reason why we're here, because of God and all the things He's done in our lives. So, of course, it's about worshiping God and giving Him praise, and also having fun, good nights. We're all safe. We're all having with our friends. It's probably the most safest, funnest thing you could do for free. So, yes.
Tonight we're doing different things from the Youth Station of the Cross. We just completed our fish dinner. We'll have midnight mass tonight. We'll have the Divine Mercy Chaplet at some point tonight. We'll also have some time to watch a Lenten movie as well as some other movies. It'll be a great night. It'll be a long night, but I think when we wake up in the morning, I think the goal is that we'll be renewed.
I find I'm always learning. Primarily, it's just to keep an open mind and to just get closer to Christ and closer to what it is He wants us to do, and just not taking anything for granted in that walk and realizing that it really is precious.
I feel that it will help strengthen me as a Catholic, so I get to learn more and to understand and to become closer to Jesus, and also to understand the resurrection in life, because it's a concept that most Catholics really, they think they know what it is, but they need to learn more about it and understand it.
For youth to practice Lent nowadays, it's kind of harder, but if you're determined, you can still do it, and of course still have a fun time like we're doing right now.
I hope that by tomorrow morning, our young people will be renewed in their faith, renewed with a new vision for the season of Lent, and that they will move forward as Christian brothers and sisters really coming to get to know and getting closer to Jesus Christ tonight.
It's about personal walk. So I hope they take something away from this that gives them a little more personal connection with Christ and why he came.
And that is all for this edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, it was once a hidden addiction. Now new efforts are shining light on the dangers of pornography. That and more tomorrow night. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. Follow us on Twitter and connect with us on Facebook. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching, and we leave you tonight with some final thoughts on Cardinal Dolan from people outside St. Patrick's Cathedral as they tell us whether they think New York's Archbishop could someday be Pope.
I think he'd make a phenomenal Pope and really change a lot of things that are going on in the world today.
That I'm not going to comment on. That's only God knows that.
Surely, who knows? Anyone can be the Pope.
I don't think so. Not everyone can be Pope.
If we all keep up our prayers, and I'm sure he's keeping his up, we'll see what happens.
I think he probably would be a great Pope. So if that day were to come, it would be a happy day for all of us.
If he were Pope, he would have to leave New York, so that would not excite me.